All right, in this part, we're going to talk about a particular movie called Marriage Story, which recently came out. It's 2019, starring Adam Driver and ScarJo. If you're excited about a ScarJo performance, I highly recommend this movie. But perhaps Alex has a lot more positive things to say about ScarJo in this one. Fire away, Alex.
So first of all, I've already reviewed this movie, but I found it very emotional because of the way they handle the divorce process in the movie
Yeah.
and how it is kind of just like a conflict that could have been saved if they just didn't get lawyers. And then like Laura Dern and I think Ray Liotta play
Yeah.
lawyers, and they're just like douches.
Yeah.
And I love that angle and how that plays into the movie and how it really builds a compelling conflict.
Well, I think we've discussed that. You said Adam Driver, you think, is the performance of the year.
Yeah, definitely, because there's a couple scenes that basically won the Oscar for me.
Yeah, it's directed by Noah Baumbach. He, he's done a few films. I'm not 100% familiar with his work, um, but this film, um, it was masterfully done. Um, I'm not a big fan of Scarlett Johansson. I'll be the first one to say that, and I know she's kind of divisive, but I feel that this is the best performance I've ever seen her in. And Adam Driver was just breathtaking. If it wasn't for the Joker this year, he'd be hands down. He's definitely my second favorite performance of the year. It's good to see Ray Liotta back. He plays an asshole like he normally plays. I
So
love
natural for him.
I love Ray Liotta. He's just a loud Italian dude, and it's always fun to have a loud Italian dude in your films. Um, but it's just this film is heartbreaking.
Yeah.
So it follows Charlie and Nicole. Charlie is a stage director. He directs theater. Nicole is an actress. Nicole had been in a movie previous before meeting Charlie, and they got married, and she got into the theater. And they just slowly grow apart over the years. They do have a son that's involved in this as well. Um, and it starts off as pretty amicable. The breakup seems like, they just both realize that they've grown apart, and they decide not to do it with lawyers, just to figure all this out. And Nicole decides to go against that agreement and get lawyer up, and that's when it kind of spins out of control, and a lot of the anger and frustration comes into it. Um, the main battle is over where they're going to live. Nicole has moved back to LA for a pilot she's doing, but Charlie's under the impression that that's just temporary, and Nicole informs him that she wants to stay in LA. So it leads to this divorce and custody battle that is taken away from both of them.
Yeah, it seemed like in the beginning, I really liked how it started. It starts off with them, yeah, unbeknownst to us, but it's a therapy session, and each one is sort of narrating the other's personality, like what they liked and some dislikes about their personalities. But Adam starts off talking about ScarJo, and then ScarJo's turn, and she starts talking about Adam. And it's sort of almost the way he talks about her at first, like, oh wow, she's such a great person, and then when she talks about him, he seems like the really nice person. It's like they both say such wonderful things about each other, and yet they just can't seem to make it work. Like there's more underlying problems that they have that come up later on, and so they must be together. I don't remember if they said exactly how long, but the child is 8 years old, so at least 8 years. And they open up like that, and then it goes into, we realize that it's a therapy session, and they both don't get to really share those words in actuality to each other. It's more or less just for us to know how they feel about each other. And then there's just until the actual physical separation of them in the movie, there's just this kind of awkward emotional separation until that occurs in the movie. And yeah, it's really, man, first hour I had to take a break because I had to go pick up my kids, but it was the first hour was just like, oh God, David, what are you making me watch? Because I do not like watching drama, especially a drama. I'm not especially a drama, but drama that involves kids, custody battles, and it just like makes me think like, gosh, I didn't spend enough time with my kid today. Like, what? I just like I start to introspect. I'm like, oh no, I'm a bad father, and I just want to go and like wake up my kid and grab him and stuff and just like squeeze him and wake him up. It's like, do you love me? Like, what do you want to do tomorrow? It's like anything.
Well, no, one thing I thought they did amazing is anybody who has kids knows their kids goes through like the mommy daddy phase. Oh like sometimes they're all about daddy, a month later they're all about mommy. But the son is going through the mommy phase during this breakup when the father's not seeing him as much. And that was like so heart-wrenching because the kid loves both his parents, but they naturally go through these phases. But it's like the worst possible time for Adam Driver's character to have to deal with that because he's not
understandable.
Seeing them as much.
Like, yeah, it's understandable why the kid is gravitating towards the mother because he's like flying in between two places and he's trying to do the directing at one place and then fighting this case on the other side. It's like, man. And then the Halloween thing, that really got to me.
Yeah.
I was like, oh gosh, trying to have two Halloweens, and then I was like, where the hell are you driving to? I don't understand that. I was like, find a goddamn school, park somewhere. That's what we did. Like we go to there's one particular neighborhood that we usually score awesome. We went there almost 2 years in a row, and it's near a school. Just find a school nearby. Like all those houses around there always give out candy. This guy's just a friggin' moron. They end up going to like a 7-Eleven or something, a convenience store, and the guy gives him like a dum-dum or something. I was like, you're so stupid.
I think he gave him a lighter.
Oh, was he the one who gave the? Because at the end of the night, he was like, "Who gave you a lighter?"
Now I really enjoyed this movie, and there's a good chance it's probably gonna be on one of my top films of the year. The one thing, I know why they did it, but the one thing that I dislike about this movie is that they had to make them part of the industry. I think if they would have made these more like two normal people, this film would have been even more relatable. But we all know Oscars, they love films about Hollywood and acting and directing. So I have a feeling that's why he made the film this way. Also, Noah had gone through a divorce. I forget, he was with an actress. I forget who. But I don't know.
It's inspired by a real story then.
Yeah. But that's the one thing. It's like it didn't have to be actors and directors, but that's the one con that I have with the film. But outside of that, it's done in such a realistic way. And I got into a talk with somebody else about this film. He feels that Adam Driver's character was the one that all the sympathy was going towards. I feel that he did well at not making anybody the bad guy. I think for men, I think Noah tried to split this between men and women. I think it's his play on the audience. I think with the main issue that she has with him outside of his controlling nature was I don't know if I want to say it, but it's
this is her spoiler review, right? We agreed, so yeah.
Okay. Well, his main issue with her main issue with him outside of his control and nature and feeling that everything's about him is his infidelity. Now, his main issue with her is, fighting for his son and, not following through what she was going to say and causing financial ruin. And so I feel that a lot, and this is a generalized term, and I spoke to my wife about this because I didn't want to sound too generalized. I think women, they would more relate to Scarlett Johansson's character because they see cheating as like the ultimate sin. And I think men would kind of go more towards Adam. And I think that was done on purpose.
with the two of them, and I want to hear Alex's take on this too, but with the two of them, like you said, I feel like he was leaning towards Adam, and I loved his performance in this. The only other thing actually I've seen him in was I think it's called Girls. That show I think was also on HBO, and it wasn't like brilliant acting. He was in every scene. He wasn't in it all that much, but when he was in it, he was a really interesting character. Lena Dunham, I think it was her love interest. I've only seen like 3 episodes of that show with my wife, but she loved that show. But in this movie, I was like, wow, like he had great, just those expressions, and his face is something that I just couldn't stop staring at. There was like, his face is kind of weird. There's something about like, he's like 80% nose, and then the rest of his face just seems to like blend into this like flat sort of mess. And I couldn't tell why, but just his acting was just so real. I really was hurt when he was hurt. But going back to it being leaning towards men, ScarJo, I feel, came off more as like a naive, manipulated woman who didn't really think of anything in her favor until Laura Dern came in. And then she said, oh no, think about it this way. Look at it this way. This is what you need. This is what you should be feeling. And then she started to start developing herself. But then you could also look at it in a way that she started to feel more empowered, that she wanted something for herself. She was taught to care about herself, to become more independent. Like that's what she needed. Because like he said, she was always like kind of sucking at his teat and was always like letting him take control. And so this was her way of becoming independent as a character, in her character. And with him, like it was just pathetic for him the whole time. Like I feel like the first a whole half of the movie was just, we were just crapping on this guy and like, how is he going to make this work? How is he going to get any kind of custody? He's flying back and forth. Oh, not New York. Got to live in LA. But, if everything she said, we have to believe that, whatever happens, that the characters are being truthful to the audience, that, this was her kind of redemption. Like he owed something to her. So this was his kind of like wake up, that he can't just kind of be focused on his work, that he had a home life to focus around too. So, it was trampling on him a bit, I feel, but there was some fairness to both sides.
I agree with that. Like, since it was a film about divorce, even though it's a marriage story, since divorce is like, I ideally should be split halfway sometimes, with determines the circumstances and stuff like that. But I like how, since it's a divorce movie and it should be split halfway, it's like you can kind of sympathize equally with both characters, both main characters. And it wasn't like Noah was siding with one person, because he was kind of messing with them both. Like, not messing with them, but kind of crapping on them both. Because I'm Drivers was like more apparent because we spent more time with him, where he was like having to get the super expensive lawyer. That's like how he was like $400 an hour or something.
Well, Ray Liotta was 900. I
know
believe.
He was 900 plus 450 for his assistant.
Yeah, I was thinking the assistant, and then
Ada was the second one that he got, the Fred Rogers lawyer he got.
Yeah, that guy was nice.
Yeah, he was 400. Yeah, it was nice, reasonable.
But then he didn't stray away from giving Scarlett Johansson's character issues. Like, she has like a little alcohol problem. I don't think she's like a full-fledged alcoholic, but she just drinks too much, but not to that bad of an extent. So I like how he gave both characters issues, and then it like explodes in that argument scene.
That argument scene is before this. I would probably say Eyes Wide Shut. Nicholas, I'm sorry, Nicole Kidman and Tom Cruise was probably their arguments in that movie is probably the most realistic husband and wife arguments, and they were actually married at the time when they made that film. But this film, that argument in Charlie's apartment where they both just get out all the anger and frustration was one of the most amazing scenes I've seen in years. And Adam Driver's performance in that scene is just wrenching. It was amazing.
I think that is up there with the processing scene from The Master for this decade.
Yeah, it was just brilliant, and it felt so real.
Yeah.
Which Hollywood gets that wrong a lot of times is they don't get the hyperbole that goes into these emotional arguments where you start saying things that you do kind of feel, but you probably shouldn't say, and you are making things bigger than what they are just because you're emotionally hurt. And the way that they did that, and the way that after they got all this anger and hatred at each other out, that they still had a touching moment at the end of the argument was just brilliant.
Oh my God, yeah. And when he starts laugh crying and then really starts crying, that was just heartbreaking. And then she comes over and pats his back.
Did anyone else catch? I don't know if you guys have the capability of rewatching this scene. And right at the end, so when she sort of comes up to him and touches his back, I heard someone fart, which almost ruined the scene. And I replayed it, so it's not me. It's in the movie. It wasn't.
I'll have to go. I didn't catch that.
And I chalked it up. I was like, oh, he must have had a snort. And but I swear to God, it didn't happen again. So I was like, maybe he was going to snort again. I listened carefully. Just as his head tips down and she has her hand on his back, there's a and then he says sorry immediately after. And the first time I saw that scene, I was like, oh, he's apologizing for a fart, and they were making a joke about it. But no, I don't. She says it's okay.
I have to go back and watch that now. The director's like, that scene was so perfect, I'm leaving the fart in there. I can't. They're not going to be able to redo that.
Because he's kind of a funny guy in that girls show too. I would believe it, but then it really just shouldn't be in there for this movie.
I never noticed that.
He's like, I'm sorry. It took me out of that moment, and I was like, no, it can't be.
Well, I didn't realize maybe I needed to be taken out of that moment. Yeah, it's funny. I watched this with my wife, and she's like, "Are we really going to watch a movie about divorce?" And I was like, "It's supposed to be brilliant, hun. Let's just sit here and watch it." And it's a lot of times when I'm watching films like this, my wife is multitasking, but she just sat there and she was riveted by it as well. And just there's one, and I just want to bring up this one shot. There's a shot where Adam Driver's leaving with his son, and he spends some time with his son, and they are shutting a gate because the power went out.
Oh, yeah.
And the shot shows that the gate separates both of them, and I thought I had to rewind the shot. It was just so brilliant how how he used the language of the camera to do that, and that's one that really sticks in my mind.
It almost looked like neither of them wanted it to happen, but the gate was already in motion. They just couldn't stop it now.
Yeah, they just had this expression on their faces like they weren't happy that they were being separated.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's a brilliant movie. What would you rate this, Raj?
Gosh, I really wanted to make it an 8, but I just... ScarJo, okay, ScarJo's not the best actress in my mind, and I don't know who else I would have casted for this. I didn't go that deep into thought with it, but I just she has flashes in between, and it's not the scenes when she cries, and it's not the scenes in the intense scenes with her, because my problem with her is that her acting looks like acting. It doesn't look genuine to me. I really feel she's always just looks like she's trying so hard, and I can't stand that. Like in when she's Black Widow or when she's in Ghost in the Shell, and maybe those aren't the best critic rave reviews movies, but those are the ones that come to mind. And
Her.
I don't like looking at her face when she's acting, and it's difficult because she's she's on screen.
You just don't
But-
like her.
You should watch
No,
Her.
I'm sure she's a wonderful person. You should watch what? Her. Oh, okay. So I'll find
Like the
another
movie,
movie.
Her.
Yeah, I know with Joaquin Phoenix. My wife is another one. My wife recommends.
It's just her voice.
But I really loved Adam Driver, and he really was the one thing that kept me going because I loved his emotion and I loved the, feeling how he felt, because my son does that too. He's going through the mommy phase, and he's always, around my wife, and he, when he wakes up in the middle of the night, he doesn't come to me anymore. Now he goes to my wife in the middle of the night, and that hurts me because I'm like, oh, sometimes I'll tell him, like, oh, if you wake up, come and wake me up, it's okay, and he doesn't even give it a second thought. I'm sure he wakes up and goes straight to the room. So like I really felt that, and I understood that sort of like that fear that you're not going to be able to bond with your child, and on top of that, the distance and everything, and then what his name is. Ada something, the guy, the nice, he played
Alan
in MASH.
Alda,
Alan Alda, that's what it was.
who was really good in this film too.
He was like, it almost looked like they were just shooting him off as like a funny or like what's the word, like an incompetent lawyer. But then he was very realistic, and one of his last lines to Driver when he was like, you have time on your side. Like he, maybe think about college, when he might live over on the East Coast or something, and it really gets to Driver, and he's like, I have to think 10 years down the line, 12 years before I can actually bond with my child. And I think that it kind of wakes him up. It wakes him up to think that, I have to just get through this and change some major things in my life if I want to be part of my family now. But I am hesitant to give it an. Okay, fine. Just for Alex. For Alex, I will give it an 8.
And what did you rate this, Alex?
10.
Oof.
10.
Perfect, huh?
I
Favorite movie of the year.
Is there a single thing you did not like? One single thing?
I can't. Well, I saw it like a few days ago, so I can't really think of anything right now. I really like the ending. I found like almost pretty much every scene well done, well edited. I loved the score. The score I really liked, even though it felt. Some people thought it was too Toy Story.
Oh, at times, yeah. I was like, oh, this is really playful for a movie this serious. And I was surprised how many times I laughed during the movie, like how serious it was. Like they were just genuinely just kind of funny scenes.
At least it wasn't as depressing as Synecdoche, New York. Well, but that's my new favorite movie.
Oh. I was gonna say the one other scene that where when I started to feel like his just depressed state was when he came over to tell about the MacArthur grant, and she was going to first present the papers, and he has this great bond with her mother, and it's like, oh, like everyone just loves this guy, and she's like the only one that wants him out of their lives. I was like, oh gosh, it's gonna happen. So yeah, I was just gonna give it that.
I give this movie a 9. Like I said, the con with it just being industry, takes you out of it slightly. It's less relatable when it's an actress and a director. But I give this movie a 9. It'll probably make into my top 5 films of the year. Definitely be in top 10. I've only seen 110 this year, so it's hard for me to ever give a film a 10 personally. But this is a 9, and for me, a 9 is probably like a lot of people's 10s.
What did you give The Irishman?
The Irishman, I think I did 8.5. I might have given that one a 9 too. That was
Because I thought you did see 2 10s. You saw Lighthouse, and then there was another one.
Lighthouse was a 9.5.
Parasite?
Lighthouse was 9.5, and Parasite was a 10.
Oh, Parasite's the 10 you're talking about.
Yeah, Parasite's the best film of the decade.
9.5 for Lighthouse, huh, David? For all that talk you give of Robert Pattinson, 9.5.
9.5 is that's like a I give Goodfellas a 9.5.
Tell me what was missing from Lighthouse. Now I want. What was that 0.5 that's missing for you from Lighthouse?
The 0.5?
Yeah, where'd it go?
Well, it's just shot in color. No,
Oh.
no, I'm fucking with you. I don't have a particular thing to not give it a 10. It's I don't know. I just can't give out that many 10s, man.
Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson in the performance of a lifetime in black and white, and it's A24, and you gave it a 9.
That is only 2 films I felt I had to watch again immediately this year, and that's Parasite and Lighthouse. Yeah, the Lighthouse, like, it just stuck in my brain and would not go away. It haunted me. I think that probably the 0.5 is sometimes it's hard to understand the dialogue.
Oh, I guess that's true. Yeah, okay.
Fond of me, lobster.
But yeah, that's probably the only knock I have on the Lighthouse is sometimes it's hard to understand. Which I know he did that because he's really trying to get period specific. But yeah, I when I watch it, I might watch it again with subtitles just so I can catch every nuance.
Well, last thing, Alex, give you the last word here. What is the give me? Did you have a 10 this year?
I will. This is one. I'll have to check real quick. Let's see. Parasite. This in Parasite.
Okay.
And Knives Out.
Oh, you gave Knives Out a 10?
Yeah.
Oh man, what did I give it? I give it an 8 or a 9. I forgot.
It was different reasons for Knives Out.
Sure, yeah, different genres get 10s for doing. Yeah.
But,
No, I get you.
You said Knives Out was your favorite film of the year until you saw this, right?
Yeah, and then I rethought. I compared it to Parasite, and then I was like, I have to put Parasite above it now.
So when you do your rankings like that, do you actually compare cross genres? Because I don't know if that's fair. I always second guess myself, like, oh, maybe I should separate genres when I do my my ratings.
I just say tentatively ranked, not like final.
If you see something, my biggest issue is when you see something in the theater. I think sometimes just the environment that you're in sometimes makes a movie seem better than what it actually is.
Yeah, I mean the first time too. The first time is like, and then you feel like maybe you miss out a lot, and you're kind of so absorbed with maybe your favorite character or that one scene, and if you watch it again, you see something different. And you're like, oh, I didn't notice that the last time, and you see it on the small screen.
Yeah, and that second watch, I think a second watch is so important for a film. I'd like to Us. The first watch, I did see that in the theater. I thought it's a pretty good movie. And the second watch, when I got to really sit down outside of a theater and be analytical and look at it more closely, it fell apart for me.
I can't wait to rewatch Synecdoche. However you say it,
Schenectady, New York.
Yeah,
Schenectady.
Yeah, Schenectady.
I can't wait to rewatch it.
That is another Spike Jonze film.
Charlie Kaufman.
Is that Charlie Kaufman?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought that was Spike Jonze.
I think he produced it.
Oh, okay. I know Spike Jonze is involved there somewhere.
Yeah, screenplay and directed by Charlie Kaufman, that one. Just a $20 million budget.
Just a $20 million.
Just $20 million. Yeah, give me $20 million. I won't make a movie with it, but
I'll make a $1 million movie.
All right, let us say our fond farewells to the Mr. Alex. Thank you, sir, for all your contributions to our Facebook group. I know you have your other group to moderate and stuff, and you take time to share those reviews. They're awesome, well thought out, and new or old, because you did Misery, and that came out of the blue. I was like, oh man, when you wrote it, I was like, yeah, I haven't seen Misery in forever. I was like, I want to see Misery. It's like I try to encourage all of our members, like new or old. Like I don't even care anymore. Originally, it was just like, if you see someone's already written about it, don't write it again. But now I'm just like, man, just write anybody. Just tell us about a movie you've seen. Like I just want to, even just for myself, add some to my own list. It's like I want to see some of these movies and stuff. But yeah, thank you for your contribution and coming on the show. And I definitely want you back on again. What did we say? Oh, for crappiest movies or stupidest movies. However, we're going to.
I'll do that.
Yeah. So prepare that list, and we'll get ours ready. Don't share with David, because David's gonna, that's how we play our battleship game. So David's gonna be like, yeah, secret list for this one.
Yeah, but that's why we need to make rules for our list, because like a top 10 ends up being like a top 7.
But it catches up. So that way, just in case, have like a few honorable mentions, and then mention like, oh, that was my top 2. Fill it out that way.
I'll make sure to.
So thank you so much, Alex, for joining us and staying up late. Sorry about that. It is a school night. But yeah, thanks for joining
thanks,
us.
Alex, man.
Thanks for having me.
All right, man. You have a good night, man.
You too.